Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Share the Health podcast with your co-hosts, Amy, Kaitlyn, and Mariah.
This podcast is for women who feel frustrated by the failures of the traditional healthcare system and are looking for solutions.
We'll be diving into all things women's health, being a female business owner, and life as a woman. Now let's get into today's episode. All right, Katie, thank you so much for joining us today and being our very first guest on our Share the Health podcast. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
I had no idea it was the first. Thank you. This is exciting. Like, what an honor. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Katie Bressack. I'm the owner of Katie Bressack Wellness, and I have two parts of my business. I support women with helping them eat for their hormones. So really helping with PMS and irregular periods, cramps, helping women kind of through each hormonal life phase, whether that's in our 20s, lots of stress, lots of kind of trying to understand what is our regular cycle, baby coming off of birth control, then helping women prepare their bodies for pregnancy, postpartum, and then perimenopause and menopause. But the foundation of that is really teaching women how to eat in a way that supports their hormones. So a lot of what I do is talk about blood sugar balance and making sure that we're eating enough food. Because a lot of women that I work with, we look at kind of what they're eating and I'm like, okay, I think we need to eat a little more. I see that a lot with hormonal imbalances. I see heads nodding yes. So I'll kind of feel that way. Myself included. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like I got to get more protein in today. Like, how am I gonna get there, meet what I would like for my own self? And then a second part of my business is I do corporate wellness. So I work with companies, I partner with them and create or support their wellness program. So whether that is creating a corporate culture with wellness or doing lunch and learns, either virtually or online, creating company-wide challenges, doing health sessions with them, and lots of cooking demos as well. So whether that's in person or virtually in my kitchen.
That's really fun. And I would imagine it's kind of a nice balance doing some of that like one-on-one work and then like that corporate wellness more in groups and stuff.
Definitely, because with my one-on-one, it's primarily women. I've worked with some men, but it's mostly women that I've worked with in the past 13 years. So in corporate, there's also lots of there's men and women, that's different kind of all areas of life, lots of people kind of in different areas of the country as well. So getting to meet people that I probably wouldn't meet otherwise is really fun. And you get different questions. And it always spurs something in my own mind, like, oh, interesting. Okay, I haven't thought about that. Like, you're dealing with this in high altitude versus what it's like living kind of like on sea level in terms of health and wellness and different seasons. And I grew up in New Hampshire, so I'm used to seasons. But as an adult, in the past 12 years, I was living in sunny LA. So there's different kind of things happening depending on where you live as well, in terms of like corporate culture and all of that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'll see that too when people are, just based off of the weather, like it totally affects, like your nutritional status, but also your ability to exercise and, all sorts of things.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, I was not going for like an hour-long walk in the middle of the winter in New Hampshire. It just wasn't happening. So I love that everybody's getting kind of the walking treadmills for work these days and just being able to move rather than just kind of having to be after work on a treadmill. It's like nice to get the steps in when you can. But yeah, weather is definitely a huge component of what you're doing to support yourself.
Yep. Yeah. I'm super thankful for my walking pad. I got it maybe a month or so ago and I'm loving it. So what made you start your business?
So after college, I moved to New York City and I was working in digital media and marketing, publishing. And I kept getting very sick. and like sinus infections, nothing like serious, but like I would get a sinus infection, I'd go to the doctors, get antibiotics, and then I'd be sick again. And this was kind of like a pattern. And all my friends were experiencing similar things where we were just like run down, exhausted, stressed out. And we're like, we're in our early 20s. Like we should be feeling our best, not our worst. And I actually found a holistic doctor who did not give me any antibiotics and gave me probiotics, asked me how I managed my stress, talked to me about my diet, and gave me a prescription for a neti pot and probiotics. And was like, if this doesn't work, come back in 2 weeks. And I never saw her again. She also retired, but like 2 years later, but it was the first time I was really diving into more of a holistic approach to my health. I was always like, you're sick, you go to the doctors, give you antibiotics. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Like it was the bubblegum, bright pink antibiotics anytime you got anything, basically. So I learned in that time together that I basically had like probably no gut flora left. I was on the subway all the time, even though I was washing my hands, doing what I could, just being exposed to so many germs. And I started really just changing my life. I got into yoga. She also told me to go to yoga for stress management. So I started going to yoga and I became a yoga teacher. And it was actually through my yoga teacher training that it just came to me one day in Shavasana that I wanted to leave my corporate job and really support women with health. And I didn't really know what that looked like, but I knew a big part of what I wanted to do was support corporate wellness and going back and sharing the things that I wish I had known, and went back to school and just kind of started my business. And that was that part of it. And then in terms of women's health and hormones, when I was planning my wedding, my period just got crazy. And like, I was also building my business. I was planning a wedding. I had PMS and bad cramps. And I was like, wait a second, like this has not happened to me like this in a very long time. And realized a big piece of the puzzle that I was missing when I was working with my clients was this whole women's health and hormones, which was not talked about as much as it is now. This was 10 years ago. So I was already in business for 3 years. And then 10 years ago, people started talking about periods and kind of breaking the taboo around talking about it. It was not something, even my mom, like I got my period, we probably had like a 3-minute conversation about it. And that was it. Right? I mean, we're all kind of similar, maybe different stories.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And now like my kids, I have 3.5-year-old twins, and like they follow me into the bathroom. And when I have my period, they like know I have my period, and we talk about periods, and not too in depth yet, but just the education around it. So it was one of those moments too, where it's like, okay, if I don't know this, and this is what I'm working with women, then so many women are really having much bigger challenges than they might not even be aware of. Like, what does it mean when your period is really short or really long? Or PMS is considered normal, right? When people are joking about it between friends, but it doesn't have to be your everyday common experience, So it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, aha, like light bulbs. I feel like every life phase, another light bulb goes off. And I'm like, okay, well, let me dive deeper into this so I can really support people more.
That's really cool. Katie, so when you were talking, I had the question that like popped into my mind. Like you mentioned that a lot of times women don't might not eat enough actually, or not have enough protein. But is there something that you find yourself like when you're coaching like women in their like hormone health that you find yourself repeating to them like all the time like that?
Yes. Protein.
Okay.
And I feel like the United States is kind of a protein obsessed country. I feel like we talk about protein a lot, but most of us are still not eating enough protein when we actually like look at the numbers. Like it's a really interesting thing that I see. Or we're relying too much on like protein powders or protein bars, but not necessarily like whole foods protein. So I talk a lot about that, but also the idea too that I think has become common is like the feeling of hangriness, like being hangry. And everyone's like, yeah, I've experienced this, or I know what this is. But everyone also is like, oh yeah, I'm just being hangry. I'm like, wait, no. That means your blood sugar is already like off balance. We want to make sure we support that before you feel hangry. So what I notice is a lot of things that have become so like normalized are actually our body's signals and things that we should try to slow down, be more mindful of, and being like, okay, well, why am I hangry? Like, how do I actually support myself? But I think a big thing is protein. I know intermittent fasting is like really big these days, but depending on where you are in terms of like your hormonal lifespan, I don't really see it working for most women during childbearing ages at all. Yeah. Right, Kaitlyn?
Yeah, I will be more open to someone doing it if they're like postmenopausal or a man.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why is that the case?
There's many reasons, but you know, when we wake up in the morning, our body needs cortisol to kind of get us out of bed, but our cortisol and our blood sugar really work together. So when we're getting, most of us are waking up stressed already. So if you wake up and you're not hungry, that's your body's way of telling you that you're kind of already stressed going into the day. So when we kind of run around, like the alarm goes off, we jump around, we run around, we're drinking coffee, and we're putting more adrenaline in our bodies, and we don't have that protein to kind of counterbalance that, to keep our body from like totally freaking out. Then all day long, we're on this up and down roller coaster where we're craving more sugar, we're more irritable. We have a much harder time like even falling asleep or staying asleep at night. So really that first hour of the morning is so precious. And it's not that we need a whole hour of like supporting ourselves, which would be very, very amazing and nice. There are small things that you can do, like eating before you drink coffee and getting enough protein in and chewing your food a little bit more rather than that huge adrenaline rush that if this is happening every single day for several months at a time, this is usually when we talk about that foundation of eating for hormones, this is usually where I see a lot of people missing that breakfast hour point. Yeah, and like there's lots of other reasons why, but that's kind of like what I see mostly. Like I have a woman I'm working with right now who very genius, like she's literally tracked when she fights with her boyfriend. I love you if you're listening. And she was like, oh my God, we fight so much more the week leading up to my period. But as we've been introducing, she was doing intermittent fasting for a long time. As we introduced breakfast back into her day, she's like, oh my God, we're not fighting. Like
Wow.
And she's like, but I read this book and it told me to intermittent fast. And I was like, yes, we really want to listen to your body and like what your body needs. And food is energy. So she's a teacher, she gets up really early, she's with students all day long. She needs lots of energy to stay calm. Same with me, right? If I'm not eating enough protein and my toddlers are losing their minds, like I'm going to lose my mind too.
That's funny.
All right. Well, thinking about like where your business is right now, and then what your hopes are for the future. What are some of those like hopes and dreams of what you see moving forward?
So I really would love to get my book published. I've been working on it for a while and I need to finish it. So I'm going to say it right here as a way to like motivate me to finish this book. But that's kind of like a big dream of mine. I think a lot of the books out there are amazing, but a lot of times it's a little too technical. And I feel like we need something that's kind of like a quick guidebook. Like, okay, what should I be doing the first hour of the morning? Like, what does it mean when I'm actually craving sugar all the time? Like, how can I actually support myself? Like quick kind of like tidbits, rather, obviously there'll be science in there, but I think kind of really easy go to go-to steps. And like my working title is Eat More Chocolate. The Busy Woman's Guide to Eating for Hormones and like supporting her busy lifestyle. So that's kind of like a big vision. And something else that I also would love is to continue to talk about women's health and periods and bowel movements and all the TMI stuff that's not talked enough about, to make that super normalized. And then also more education so we can actually pass laws that support women's health too, because we all know the more we need more research, more studies, and the more that we can do that, having people in higher like Congress and House of Representatives and all of that to be able to prove what we already know so that we can actually have research behind that. I have a lot of friends that have severe endometriosis and different things like that, that I really hope that we can really move the needle. And that's what I really love about where women's health is right now. Like, I just feel like we've created lots of noise. There's been lots more conversations, lots of things that are actually happening now. And I just see that getting bigger and better. I really do. And I just think it's like all of us having these conversations that will make a big difference.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't even know like 2 years ago that like, eating for your hormones is like a thing, or, like repairing your period. And, that was all like new to me like a couple of years ago. And so it's cool to like finally see, people mention it and people go, oh yeah, like I have heard of that.
Yeah. So those are big visions. I think like a small vision, to bring it back down to earth, is really trying to continue to, I hate the word balance, but like in a way I am on this juggling act between being a mom and running a business, and trying to really do it in a way that feels more easeful this year is a big vision that I'm having just for myself and my day-to-day life, is just kind of, how do I be more easeful, being more in the moment, really when I'm working, and when I'm with them, be with them. That's like a small, but I think important part of being a business owner too.
Yeah, we've talked about those challenges for sure, of like, yeah, we're helping other people, in supporting their own health, but then we have to take care of our health as well, and finding that balance.
100%. And it's challenging, but I think it's like, to being able to walk the walk is important. So it's like, okay, like what am I learning? Like I'll share with all of you, like, this is what I figured out. Maybe it can help you too.
Yep. All right. Well, where can people connect with you if they want to learn more, or if they want to work with you?
I'm everywhere at just Katie Bressack. So it's Bressack, and then just Katie. I'm mostly on Instagram, and then that's my website, kind of on Facebook. I haven't even tried TikTok yet. So find me on Instagram or my website.
Yeah, I have not tried the TikTok yet. And I think I just aged myself by calling it the TikTok.
The Facebook, the TikTok.
Yeah, right. That's okay. I haven't even opened the app, so no judgment.
I refuse to download that.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us and talking about your business and your amazing vision. I am excited for you to finish up your book because I want to read it.
Me too.
Yes, I'll let you know. And now that I said it out loud, like, it's gonna happen.
All right. Well, whenever we wrap up our episodes, we always give each other a virtual high five.
Oh, awesome.
Here we go.
Yay.
Yay.